you involved in a racist party?
No, we're not a racist country, Brian.
I was a brown girl in a black and white world. We faced discrimination and hardship.
We've never been a racist country.
Dad and I stopped by the local produce market. As he was putting his produce in his basket, I noticed something start to happen. The couple working at the market was getting nervous. They were whispering, and then they got on the phone. A few minutes later, 2 uniformed police officers showed up. And take it from me, the first minority female governor in history, America is not a racist country. At Thanksgiving, someone had the bright idea to give me the role of Pocahontas in the school play. Did they realize I wasn't that kind of Indian? America is not a racist country.
We were the only Indian family in our small southern town. I was teased every day.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about Nikki Haley, who lately has been getting it from the left and the right, okay? She's going viral for all the wrong reasons. I mean, just a couple of days ago, yesterday actually, I did a story about Nimrata allegedly having multiple affairs with men in South Carolina before she became governor, okay? Apparently, she was letting everybody try the curry pot. It was an Indian buffet down there in South Carolina. Right. They had a whole buffet going on. Okay. But Nikki Haley, again, is going viral for the wrong reasons, as she seems to be flip-flopping on this issue of race. Okay. Depending on who she's talking to, she likes to play the race card. Okay. Now, we already know she plays the woman card, the feminist card. Okay. That's not a surprise. But when it comes to the issue of race, lately in the mainstream liberal media, she's been saying that America's not a racist country. Okay, she basically talked about the Civil War without mentioning slavery as part of the reason why the Civil War happened. And she's been catching a whole lot of flack for it, mainly from the left. Okay, not so much from me because, I'm not into the race hustling, right? And the boohoo-wan and crying racism, especially when you are a successful so-called person of color, right? It's hard to cry about racism when you've proven that you can be successful in the so-called racist country, right? Can't be that racist if you are becoming a female Indian governor, right? But apparently, according to Nikki Haley, she faced racism growing up as a brown girl, okay? And it was tough for her growing up in the South as a brown girl. And this is what she's going to talk about on NBC News. And a lot of people are giving Nikki Haley some pushback over this because a lot of people are saying that, hey, I didn't even know that you were brown, right? You look like a white lady complaining about racism. So I want to talk about this, but before we get into it, we have to have a word from the sponsor of this video, Fighter Flare. Between mass shootings, brazen smash and grab thefts at luxury retailers, violent robberies, and armed carjackings, people's fear of violent crime is justified. The FBI states that carjackings alone have risen at a staggering 8.1%, with the vast majority involving an assailant with a weapon, with someone getting injured in more than a quarter of cases. What's worse is that reported violent crime is at its highest since 2008 in some states. This is why I highly recommend and use the brand new 2024 Fighter Flare flashlight. It is my everyday carry for personal protection. If you've ever been on the wrong end of a tactical flashlight, like the ones that the military and law enforcement use, just like this one right here, then you know how 800 lumens can stop you right in your tracks. The Fighter Flare helps blind an attacker with its ultra bright strobe light, allowing me to defend myself and to escape quickly. What's more, it's the ultimate all-in-one self-defense tool featuring a built-in lighter, belt cutter, digital battery life indicator, glass breaking hammer, built-in power bank for cell phone charging, solar power, compass, multiple lighting modes for a variety of situations, and the ability to have the Fighter Flare light zoom in and out with an included extender. Get the Fighter Flare for a whopping 15% off this New Year's. Plus, stay secured with a complimentary 100% lifetime guarantee replacement. Gain access to the exclusive Preppers Peak newsletter for weekly life-saving preppers tips, free express shipping, and much more. Order now before this offer ends by going to fighterflare.com. That is fighterflare.com, and use promo code 15OFF.
We were the only Indian family in our small southern town. I was teased every day for being brown. So anyone that wants to question it can go back and look at what I've said on how hard it was to grow up in the Deep South as a brown girl. Anybody can look at my record and see when Walter Scott was shot down by a dirty cop, how I made sure that the Walter Scott family didn't suffer because we put the first body camera bill in the country in place. Anybody can look at the fact that when we had 9 amazing souls die in Mother Emanuel Church, I did something that no Republican or Democrat ever wanted to touch, which was call for the Confederate flag to come down because it would take 2/3 of the House and Senate and was an impossible feat. I don't know what you're implying with that, but what I will tell you is saying that I had black friends is a source of pride. Saying that I had white friends is a source of pride. If you want to know what it was like growing up, I was disqualified from a beauty pageant because I wasn't white or black, because they didn't know where to put me. So look, I know the hardships, the pain that come with racism. It's the reason that I fight bullies every day when it comes to racism, anti-Semitism, or hate, and I always will. If I didn't mention slavery on that day, it's because that's an automatic. There's always been, the Civil War's always been known about slavery.
Yeah. So you see now, you heard that. Okay. Nikki Haley is claiming that it was hard growing up for her as a brown girl. Now, again, a lot of people are confused by this because if you look at Nikki Haley, I mean, man, I don't think just looking at her, I would say she's Indian, right? I mean, just looking at her, I would probably guess white woman, right? I wouldn't know she's Indian unless she told me that she was Indian, okay? So I don't know, man. I mean, you guys tell me. Do you guys think that it was hard for Nikki Haley growing up in the South in a small town because she's Indian? Now, as a black person, I can tell you, growing up in a small town as a black person, it wasn't hard for me because I'm black, right? Being black didn't have anything really to do with it. It's not something I ever really thought about until people started to tell me that, hey, it must be hard for you because you're black, right? But growing up, I never thought about my skin color as a so-called black male. Now, you know, that's just my experience. I'm just using my experience to extrapolate that Nikki Haley, I think, probably is doing a little bit of cap here, right? I think that, again, as a woman who, again, appears to be more white, right, than actually Indian, I don't think that these experiences that she claims she had, she actually really had. I don't know. Maybe she did. Maybe she wasn't allowed in beauty pageants because they didn't know where to put her, right? She wasn't black. She wasn't white. So I don't know. She was disqualified or something. This is what she's claiming, okay? But again, you know, this on top of the fact that she claimed that she got into politics because of Hillary Clinton, right? She was inspired by Hillary Clinton. You have a ton of Democrats in New Hampshire, just like in Iowa, that are saying that, hey, we're going to come out and vote for Nikki Haley, right? We're going to vote for Nikki Haley. It's like, okay, well, Nikki Haley's starting to get closer and closer and closer to a Democrat, right? That's what it sounds like to me. And this is why I said a couple days ago that if Nikki Haley was the GOP nominee in the presidential election, she would go left on this issue of race, right? That's exactly what she would do. You'd be hearing a lot more stories like that, right, if she was the general election candidate, because, again, she's trying to get Democrats to vote for her. So meanwhile, you have the mainstream liberal media. They are essentially trying to come to Nikki Haley's defense about the so-called racism that she's experiencing from people on the right now, just because she's been attacked by Trump, and Trump is calling her by her first name or calling her nicknames that play off of her real name, Nimrata. The latest nickname that Trump came up with is Nimrata, like trying to call her a Nimrod, right? And the mainstream liberal media is crying racism. So now they're asking everybody about Nikki Haley and the attacks against her, trying to come to her defense. Let's watch this.
Donald Trump is watching some pretty personal attacks against Nikki Haley, who I know you've known for a very long time. He suggested she isn't eligible to be president, even though she is. She was born in your home state of South Carolina. He repeatedly mocked her, given first name, Nimarata, even though she has gone by her middle name, Nikki, her whole life. Are you comfortable with that kind of rhetoric from the president, from the former president?
Well, I'm watching rhetoric on all sides of the issues facing becoming president. What I mean by that is the rhetoric from Joe Biden is terrible, but it's salacious. Nikki Haley questions whether 70-year-olds should be allowed to run for president. I think there is so much negativity and toxicity in this aim to becoming president again or for the first time that we should be very clear and look at both sides of the comments made. What I can tell you, the average voter is more interested in their future and their kids than they are the comments being thrown around by political candidates.
Would you rather that the man you endorse not use terms like Nimarata, names like Nimarata, seeming to try to make a point to his supporters?
Well, I would like for all politicians to comport themselves in a way that is consistent with the highest office. Mm-hmm. On the campaign trail, people say things, and interestingly enough, then after the campaign's over, everybody unites. What we need in the Republican Party is to start uniting behind one candidate. That candidate is only going to be Donald Trump. So when we're thinking about what's next, it shouldn't be attacks against each other. We should turn our attention to Joe Biden. And
yeah, see that you heard that, okay? So the feminist media is defending Nikki Haley, right? Boo-hoo-whining, crying, racism, okay, because she's being attacked, right? Trump is giving her nicknames like he gives everybody nicknames, right? And apparently when it comes to Nikki Haley getting nicknames, oh, well, that's racist, okay? But hey, they don't have to worry about Nikki Haley actually being in the Trump administration because he's basically come out and ruled out the possibility of Nikki Haley being VP.
She is not presidential timber. Now, when I say that, that probably means that she's not going to be chosen as the vice president. You know, you can go. No, you can go and you can say certain things, you know, I don't like them and blah, 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 and this. But when you say certain things, it sort of takes them out of play, right? I can't say she's not of the timber to be a vice, and then say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to announce that I've picked. Do you understand? But that's the way it is, okay? Tell it like it is. Tell it like it is.
Yeah, so Trump has ruled out Nikki Haley as VP, or he says he probably will not pick her, right? He sounds like he's not going to pick her. You just never know with politics. But, you know, hey, Nikki Haley, she is probably banking on Trump being pulled out of the race anyways, okay? And as you can see here, Nikki Haley has perfectly positioned herself, if Trump is pulled out in some way, to essentially try to win the general election by going woke, by being a Democrat, right? And that's kind of what her angle is. It is extremely obvious because that is what the Never Trump establishment is, right? They're just fiscal conservatives. And I wouldn't even say fiscal conservatives because these people run up to debt, right? Like, for example, you know, George Bush, you know, these Republicans, like, they don't actually care about the debt that much. And with all the wars that Nikki Haley would start, like, come on. Right, our military budget would explode, right? I mean, we would definitely run up trillions of more dollars in debt. So I wouldn't even say she's fiscally conservative, but she is the neocon wing going woke, right? You got people like Liz Cheney. She's doing speeches in black churches now, right? If you listen to Alyssa Farah Griffin on The View, she cares about trans issues and rights for trans kids and all types of left wing stuff, right? Like, this is what they are, right? They're woke, okay? The neocon wing of the Republican Party, they're woke neocons. That's what they are, okay? And, you know, I think that's probably what Nikki Haley's at, because one day she comes out and says that, hey, the country's not racist and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? And then another day she'll come out and play the victimhood card. It was so hard growing up for me as a brown girl who looks white, right? Nobody knew that I was actually brown because I changed my name so that people wouldn't know I'm brown, right? So I don't know, bro. I have no clue. I don't know what's up with Nikki Haley. I do know that she does play the feminist card, the woman card, quite a bit. So her, you know, playing the race card is not really a surprise to me because I always knew that she was woke. It's just on this topic of race. I don't think it's as acceptable to play the race card in the Republican Party as it is to play the woman card in the Republican Party, right? To playing a woman card in the Republican Party, that's acceptable. You can do that, right? You can play victimhood politics and talk about being a woman. But, you know, with the race card, though, that's a little bit of a different thing, okay? And I think, you know, what you're seeing here from Nikki Haley is her basically, you know, kind of going back and forth between, you know, trying to play the game here, right? And saying the things that she actually really wants to say. It'll be very fascinating to see how she actually performs in New Hampshire. If she loses New Hampshire, I think that she's in big trouble. I mean, she is in big trouble. She's not going to win. But if she loses New Hampshire, she's in big trouble. If she loses in South Carolina, she's out, right? She's done, okay? I mean, basically everybody in South Carolina with, you know, major political positions has endorsed Trump. They have not backed her. She should have never ran in the first place because she said that she wouldn't run against Trump if Trump ran. That's a promise that she gave. She broke that promise. Clearly, that shows that she's not a trustworthy person. I don't know why people are voting for this woman, but hey, apparently she has a lot of people, Democrats, that do support her. So hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.